Okay, so today we're going to learn what to do when we don't get a remainder of 0 at the end and we ran out of digits. I know in elementary school you learn to put like R5 for a remainder of 5, but in middle school we don't do that. In middle school we answer as a decimal. And I want you to make sure you're paying attention because when we have a remainder of 5, it's not just whatever our answer is 0.5. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. Real quick, I want you to fill in our vocab words from yesterday that we have in our division problem. One should go here, one should go here, and one should go up here. So pause the video real quick, fill in those words, and then use the video to check to make sure you got those vocab words right. Or if you're not sure, just follow along. So our dividend is our first number in our division problem. It's our number being divided. Our divisor is our number that's doing the dividing. It's our second number in a division problem. So in the number like 858 divided by 3, 858 is the dividend. 3 would be the divisor. And then whatever that answer is would be called our quotient. All right, again, you have sayings that you have from elementary school that you want to use, so fill that in to remind you how to do long division. Might be dad, mom, sister, brother, okay, and then R for Rover, remainder if you want. Does McDonald's sell burgers? Dracula must suck blood. Whatever you learned, you can fill into those lines. Okay, I'm not going to fill anything in because we're all going to be filling in different things and I don't want you to get confused. If you're not ready to move on yet, pause the video and then finish up that and then resume. Step 1 is to divide. We see how many times a number can go, our divisor can fit into our dividend. So for this example, we say how many times does 3 fit into 8? And you just go digit by digit. Okay. Once we see how many times 3 can fit into 8, we multiply. So 3 can fit into 8 2 times. So then we have to multiply. What is 3 times 2? What number is that gives us? That would be 6. And we're going to have some left over. So then what we have to do is subtract to see how many do we have left over. And then we bring down the next number in our dividend to keep the problem going. Okay. Today we're going to have remainders. So we're going to repeat until we get a remainder of 0. Or, because that's not really going to happen to us today, we're going to get a repeating decimal or the decimal is going to end. Okay, so either the decimal is going to end or it's going to repeat, and we'll have examples of both of those today. The answer will not ever ask you to answer in a fraction, so you can just ignore that. 30 divided by 12. So 30 is our number that goes in the box, 12 goes outside. First thing we do, we say how many times can 12 fit into 3? That's going to be 0. Then we ask how many times can 12 fit into 30? 12 can fit into 30, and you can use a multiplication chart to help you out with this. 2 times. 12 times 2 is 24. So we did our divide, we did our multiply. Now we have to subtract. And I'm going to erase this line now, so that's out of there. We'll do 30 minus 24. You cannot do 0 minus 4, so we have to borrow. I'm going to do that in a different color. So this 3 becomes a 2. This 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 2 minus 2 is 0. You can either choose to write that 0 or not. Now notice we have no more digits left and we have a remainder. So in elementary school you would have put like R6. We're not going to do that. And it's not just 0.6 either. Okay, so we're going to add a digit to the end. But we can't just add a 0 because then this 30 would become 100. That's not the same number. Okay, so but what we can do is we can add a decimal and then add a 0. Do you all agree with me that 30 and 30.0 is the exact same number? We should be shaking our heads yes. 30 and 30.0 is the exact same number. So I did not change the number. All I did was gave myself more digits to work with, and they're all going to be zeros, but that's okay. Once I put a decimal down in my dividend, I have to put it right on top into my answer as well. This is why lining up those numbers as you work is super important. Okay, and now we keep going. So now we do have a number that we could bring down. And 12 can fit into 60. We start that process back over. First we divide. 12 can fit into 60 5 times. Then we multiply. 12 times 5 is 60. Then we subtract. We have a 0 remainder. We have no more numbers to bring down. So our answer is 2.5 or 2 5/10. All right. Number 2, 1,498 divided by 6. Let's put that in the division box. 6 goes outside. Okay, start one digit by one digit. So 6 can fit into 1, 0 times. 6 can fit into 14, 2 times. I'm going to do this in colors. 6 can fit into 14 2 times. 6 times 2 is 12. So we subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. You can choose to write that 0 or not. Next thing we do is we bring down that 9. I'm going to do that in another color. Now we start the process over. How many times does 6 fit into 29? Use your multiplication chart if you're not sure. 6 can fit into 29 4 times, which is 24. Subtract. 9 minus 4 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. Keep going. Bring down that 8. 6 can fit into 58. Nine times. Because 6 times 9 is 54. Subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 5 is 0. We have a remainder. We need to keep going. So we put our decimal in our dividend and our quotient. Put it in both places. And we can add a 0 to that dividend. Don't put a 0 up in your quotient. It's just the dividend. Okay, because the quotient is where we're dividing. That's where we're getting those numbers from. We can only add the 0 to the number inside the box. So I can extend that box for you. There you go. Now we have a 0 that we can bring down. 6 can go into 40. That would be 6 times, right? Because 6 times 6 is 36. So we would subtract 36. Can't subtract 0 minus 6. So we have to borrow from that 4, make it a 3. That 0 then becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 minus 3, 0. Again, we have a remainder and no more numbers. So we add another 0, bring it down. What do we notice? We're going to end back up at 40. So it's going to say how many times can 6 go into 40? Well, that's going to be 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. We're going to subtract. 40 minus 36 is 4. We're going to add a 0, bring down. You're going to notice it's just going to keep going on forever. Okay, it's just going to keep being 36. So this is just going to be 0.666666666 repeating forever. So like I said, you're either going to end up at a remainder of 0 with your decimal where it ends, or it's going to repeat. Once you start noticing a pattern with repeating, you can stop. Okay, the way we show a repeating decimal, so the way that we would write this answer is 249.6. This is called a repeating bar. So whatever this bar is over shows that that number just repeats forever and never and never. Okay. If you would write like this on a test, I would accept that as well. All right, if you're feeling confident with this, you've been killing your long division, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try the next one on your own, and then you can resume the video if you get stuck or if you just want to check your answer. If at any time you do get your answer wrong, Make sure you go back, rewatch the video to find out where you made your mistake, and then change it on your paper. But if you're feeling good, go ahead, try this one on your own. If not, you can follow along. Just know that for your homework, you'll have to do it on your own. So at some point, I want you to try them on your own. 4,218 is being divided by 12. 12 can fit into 4 0 times. 12 fits into 42. Use that multiplication chart. 3 times. 12 times 3 is 36. Here I'd have to do some subtraction and borrowing. Make that 4 a 3. Make that 2 a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down my 1. 12 can fit into 61. 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. Subtract. 1 minus 0, 1. 6 minus 0, or 6 minus 6 is 0. Keep going. 12 can go into 18 one time. 12 times 1 is 12. Subtract. 18 minus 12, so 8 minus 2 is 6. 1 minus 1, 0. I have a remainder and no more digits, so I have to add my decimal. I add it to my dividend and my quotient. Only in my dividend do I add a 0 onto the end. I do not put a 0 up in my quotient. I don't need extra digits up there. Now I have a 0 I can bring down. 12 can go into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract. 0 remainder, no more digits. We are good. Our answer is 351.5. Now this one's tricky. This has lots of zeros, so let's see what happens here. Start setting it up. Start with the hundreds digit. 9 can go into 4 0 times. So we move over, we make it 40. 9 can go into 40 4 times because 9 times 4 is 36. So we subtract. Have to do some borrowing. Now we can do 10 minus 6 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down my next 0. 9 can go into 40 4 times. That's 36. 4 times 9 is 36. Subtract. I just did this, so 40 minus 36 was 4. I could do the borrowing again if I wanted, but you don't need to. I have a remainder. I have no more digits to come down, so I have to put a decimal in my dividend and a decimal in my quotient. Now that I have a decimal in my dividend, I can add a 0 because 400 and 400.0 are the exact same number. 9 can go into 40, again, 4 times. 9 times 4 is 36. And what we're going to notice is this is going to go on forever and ever and ever. So it's going to end up being 44.4444444444. Okay, because we're going to just keep getting 40, keep getting 36, keep getting 40, keep getting 36. So the way we would write this answer, remember, we would write 44.4, and then we'd write that repeating bar over that 4. Again, if you were to just keep it like this with a bunch of 4s on the end on a test, that would be totally fine. Okay, so that is how we divide when we have remainders and we write them as decimals. It's not too bad.